Welcome all. I'm joined today by Christopher Dedeyan, the founder of Dedeyan Entreprises. So Christopher, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for your time.
Merci. Very happy that I'm here with you.
So Christopher, I see that Dedeyan Entreprises focuses on optimizing peak performance, as I read, in the business and personal lives of their clients. So before we get into the rest of the interview, can you please explain how yourself and your team do this? How exactly does it work?
So absolutely, Elliot. So essentially, we have four main pillars within Dedeyan Enterprises. And like you mentioned, the main goal is really to optimize people's performance in the business world and in their personal life, because we truly believe if you're not taking care of the individual, he's not going to thrive at the maximum capacity within his business. So the first pillar that we have is through speaking. So I'm a professional speaker, growing that repertoire as well. I get other speakers under the organization. We have executive one-on-one coaching that we work with C-suite executive, top-tier entrepreneurs that really want to go to that next level within their business and personal life. Then we have our academy, which is an online course for, once again, same type of clientele, which was going to get launched in September coming up in 2022. And then finally, we have our podcast agency, the Dedeyan Podcast Agency. So we take our top tier entrepreneurs and we get them to be guests on top tier podcasts that get them a great visibility. They're able to talk about their products, their service, their ideologies, and from there they get clients. So those are the four main pillars of Dedeyan Enterprises for the moment.
And obviously it's based in North America, and
yes,
many of its clients are in North America. I'm wondering, are there any plans to, be involved in the Armenian sphere, to 100%. Come to Armenia? Can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah, 100%. So I love that question in itself. So it is all through e-commerce in itself. What do I mean is that most of my employees are a bit all around the world. We have some in Canada, United States. We have some in, one of them is in Armenia. So our services could fit anybody that is interested. So right now, most of my clientele is North American based, but 100% open to be developed anywhere across the world and in Armenia as well, especially being here and just seeing how thriving it is within the entrepreneurial world and their ideology where they're going forward, 100%.
And what do you think of the entrepreneurial world in Armenia? Are you quite hopeful? What have you been observing? What have you been seeing?
I mean, Amelia, that's a great question. And the reason why it is, I truly believe the success of Armenia is through two folds, and that's through the youth, educating the youth and teaching them about entrepreneurship. If we develop that at a very high level, I think as a country, as a community, we'll be able to become more of powerhouses across the world. So I truly believe in entrepreneurship. I am an entrepreneur through and through, and I believe in it happening in Armenia. I've been blessed throughout the last few days that I've been here with the Femino event to meet all kinds of people, from politicians to top tier entrepreneurs here, to diaspora entrepreneurs here, to students deciding why are they going to go to university in Armenia compared to other parts of the world, and seeing different dichotomies of reality, and seeing that the way to go out of where we're at, not even out of, but more develop Armenia is through entrepreneurship, science, and innovation in itself.
And Armenians have been described in the past as entrepreneurial.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you agree with that perception and what you think people mean by that. Yes. In terms of the UK, for example, Hitler once insulted the UK by saying it's a country of shopkeepers.
Okay.
But in the end, many thought that that was rather a compliment than an insult. And some people are saying the same about Armenia and Armenians being entrepreneurial in nature. So first off, what do you think about that perception that Armenians are entrepreneurial? Okay. Do you think they are? And secondly, in terms of Armenians across the world, diasporan communities, for example, there are those that believe that immigrants naturally have this entrepreneurial aspect to them, and I'm wondering why that is.
Okay, brother, I love this. We're going to geek out for a second. Great question here. So I'm going to correlate it with the Jewish community, right? We know that the Jewish community is very much into entrepreneurship. They're very successful. They're a wealthy community. Why that is because where they weren't allowed to be hired. So they had to open up their own places to work, right? So I think there's a lot of correlation with Armenians. Because of the genocide, unfortunately, we were displaced. When we were displaced, we did not necessarily know the language right off the bat. So we had to figure out how to bring food in our house, how to grow our kids and give them the things that they need. So we had to become entrepreneurial to succeed in that regards. And that's why in general, Armenians are a lot entrepreneurs. And furthermore, I truly believe that the Armenian people are very relentless because we've been through so many things. And the basis of success through entrepreneurship is relentlessness, because it's guaranteed whatever you're going to start in, you're going to fail. it's a part of it, right? Like 9 times out of 10, if you start a business, 9 of them are going to fail, 1 of them is going to succeed. For you to continue going at bat and continuing just trying to hit that ball, at a certain point, you're going to succeed. So to do that, you have to have faith and be relentless. So that's why I truly believe that translates with Armenian people.
Okay, and you were also a speaker at the Femino conference, which just took place in Yerevan on July 30th and July 31st. And the Femino is the first Women in Tech conference, the largest one in the region that has taken place. And it seeks to showcase and empower women in tech, business, technology. What were your impressions of the conference? What did you think about it? And why do you think a conference like Femino is important? Why did you decide to participate?
Okay, so twofold. First and foremost, what did I think about it? I thought it was phenomenal. I love where the ideology of entrepreneurship is going, the ideology of equality, the ideology of women in the business place. So it was such a great start, because the reality of the matter is, it doesn't matter who you are within anywhere around this world, what your gender is, your sexual orientation. If you have limiting beliefs and you doubt yourself, you're just not going to succeed. But if we get on stage and see other phenomenal female speakers, male speakers, people that you might associate with, the people that are sitting and watching just are like, hey, I can believe it. That's all we're trying to activate within the people that are in the crowd. So if the young youth of Armenia is seeing this and being like, oh yeah, I could do this. Oh, look at this phenomenal woman doing her business. Look at this man doing what? And they associate themselves with that, then they'll be able to succeed. So it's highly important to have things like this and opening up the conversation and having amazing events such as Femino. So yeah, 100% a great experience.
And I'm also wondering, what is the relationship, in your opinion, between entrepreneurship and equality? You kind of mentioned it, but for many, entrepreneurship kind of lays a foundation for equality in a sense. Like, for example, if there's a business wants to do well, and the identities of its workers could be second almost to, the success of the company. So what I want to ask is basically, isn't successful entrepreneurship that enshrines equality, that doesn't take account of people's gender and sex, for example?
Okay, so another great one. And this is something that I try to upkeep as much as possible within my business and anybody that I coach to kind of understand. As a person, you have to be very self-aware of what are your strengths, what are the places you need to optimize, or weaknesses we call. And within that aspect, you're trying to hire people that are going to fit in your weaknesses. So if you're hiring the same type of person that you are in and out, there's so much blind spots within your business and your personal life that you don't even notice because it's a blind spot. Towards if you bring in other types of people, like you said, different genders, different sex, different ideologies, different culture, they see things that you do not see. So as a leader, you have to position yourself to be humble and move aside your ego to be like, hey, what are my strengths? Let me work on that. That's where my expertise comes into play. Let me hire other people that have the same strengths and weaknesses. Now, how to go about that in itself is understand that they're not coming to work for Christopher Dedeyan. That's just a given name. They're not coming to work for Dedeyan Entreprises. They're coming to work for the mission and vision of the organization. So mission and vision of the organization is optimizing people want to perform in every areas of their life, getting them from where they are to where they want to be. That's the mission of Dedeyan Entreprises. So if I hire a videographer, if I hire a copywriter, a secretary, if they have the same ideology of personal development, they are working for the mission instead of the individual. So if you look at business in that sense, you're going to be so much more successful of cultivating an equality aspect within your business in itself.
And obviously you are a remarkable public speaker, but I'm wondering, in terms of the conference, but also your own work, what is the importance of this sharing of stories, of making these speeches? Some people may disregard it, but there is an importance to it. Could you explain why you think it's important?
Great question, brother, once again. It is so important because there's one thing I truly believe. As human beings, Homo sapiens, the basis of who we are is through storytelling. Back in the Stone Age, we used to sit down around a fire and tell stories. Our grandparents have told us stories. The reason why we remember what happened in Armenia with the genocide is our grandfathers telling us stories, right? So storytelling is highly important. So when you go on stage and you tell these stories, people are able to associate with that self, that story, and associate their personal life with it. Then they're like, hey, I am not alone. So that's the aspect that's highly important in that regards to connect as a speaker, as a communicator through storytelling. And everything around us is storytelling. from movies to reading books to business to speaking. So if you understand the power of storytelling, I truly believe you're going to succeed as a communicator in general.
There is a narrative in Armenia about the next generation being the hope of Armenia. And this can apply to the IT sector, to entrepreneurship, as you've mentioned, to so many spheres. I'm wondering why you think that narrative exists. What is it about this younger generation of Armenians that is inspiring so many older people?
Okay, great question. Let's see it in a different perspective. We're looking macro Armenia. Let's go micro within the world. Why is India exploding? Why is Africa exploding? That's because of the evolution of internet accessibility. Back in the day, to create these things, you needed to physically put wires to have access to internet or the rest of the world. Now through satellites, you don't need to evolve the city center to have access to internet. So once that reality is happening in the 21st century that we're in, it's creating possibilities for anybody that's willing to work, willing to learn an international language, and willing to understand and cultivate an expertise. That is why people are so adamant on the future of not only Armenia, but the rest of the world. So if we bring it back in a micro level of Armenia, this is exactly the same thing. So we have been a very cerebral nation. Like, we know this. We play chess at school. We're very intellectual in so many regards, and that shows through the evolution of Armenia in itself. So now we're able to showcase our intellectual prowess in the business world because we have access to get people as clients from the United States, from Canada, from Australia, and across the world, where before wasn't possible. One part. Second part, we are a very young country. Since '91 that we became a republic from the USSR, we're still very much young. We're learning the process of what it is to be an independent country, the politics behind it, the economy behind it. So that's why I think people are so adamant and hopeful of this current generation, because it's crossing in time the opportunity and the fact that we're ready for that opportunity. So that's what I would answer to that.
And I mean, you have a lot of experience with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, in terms of Armenia, with your observations, what were some of the obstacles you think to entrepreneurship in the country? What would you like to see change in the future?
I love that question. That's a tough one. And here's what I'm going to say. First and foremost, I'm going to position myself in a very humble way as much as possible. I don't think I know the end all be all of what the situation should be in Armenia, because I'm not living here currently. Obviously, I'm a diaspora, and I have my understanding of what Armenia is, but this is my third time in Armenia. But what I've done as much as possible, like I mentioned, I'm trying to speak to all types of Armenians, from politicians to entrepreneurs to diasporan entrepreneurs to people that are in the tech world to students and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to understand what the reality is and trying to see where we could counter balance that aspect. So what we're seeing, what I noticed in a very different perspective, I think there's so many great possibilities. They're open. The last time that I came here was 2015, and before that was 2004. Not a lot of people were speaking English. Now English is very predominant, as well as Russian and Armenian. So it's opening up access. Now I think in the business world, they're going to have to slowly evolve a bit more to the Western approach of business. Not necessarily losing anything, but understanding how the Western world works within business. It is a bit different from the Asian world, from the European world. So I think anybody that is in Armenia that wants to develop an international business, you have to understand the ways that business is done in different regards, how communication is done in different regards. And I think if you understand that structure in itself, you have only success in front of you.
Okay. Well, Christopher, very insightful. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate you, brother, and awesome job with everything you guys are doing here.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.